Hello and welcome. We're waiting for others to log in, so we'll get started here in a few minutes. We're waiting on a few others to log in, so we'll get started here in a couple minutes. Hello and welcome everybody. I'm Todd Millard. I am CEO of Crossvale, and welcome to the OVE webinar, where we'll be discussing Crossvale's capabilities and OpenShift virtualization as a great solution to solve your legacy VM environment. So today we're going to get rolling along, and with us today is also Mihai, who will be doing a demo of the platform for us. Before we get into the demo of the platform, we'll walk through a welcome that'll talk a little bit about Crossvale, Red Hat, and OpenShift, just so you understand a little bit about where OpenShift is coming from and the players here. And this webinar is brought to you by Red Hat and Crossvale. So thank you, Red Hat, for your support on this. Crossvale is who we are that are presenting. We'll also talk a little bit about our migration methodology, so you understand what that looks like from where you are now to kind of how we help people get to where they need to be. We'll show you some details on the cost analysis tool that we use to be able to help you understand the ROI that you get from moving to OpenShift virtualization. We'll run through the demo that Mihai will conduct. That'll take about 40 minutes of this to really kind of walk through a good understanding of the platform. And then we'll have a questions and answers session in the end. And then also there's a offer that we have for people that will be attending the webinar to be able to participate in an assessment. That being said, if you have any questions along the way, please use the chat to ask your questions, and we will make sure we get to them at the Q&A. So welcome, and Crossvale. So why is Crossvale here? We are a premier partner with Red Hat, been working on the OpenShift platform since around 2016, back when it was about OpenShift 3.4. Many years of experience in this. We focus primarily on people that are moving from legacy to containerization, whether it is from the architectural design all the way through the day two operations. We have a managed service to help manage the platform for organizations, regardless of where you're running that platform, whether you're running it in the cloud, on-prem, colo, running it on IBM Power. We run it anywhere globally. We've won many awards for the work that we've done with Red Hat on the OpenShift platform, including Container Platform Specialist of the Year, Commercial Partner of the Year. We also are the first global Red Hat specialized partner for application platform and the only global provider that holds the platform automation and application platform specializations currently across the entire world. So this is what we specialize in. This is what we do. We don't do a whole bunch of things across everything, different type of technology. We focus on this space. And this is why we're here having this discussion. So first, just kind of a high level understanding of the OpenShift platform. The platform is for all your workloads. It's trusted, comprehensive, consistent. This platform not only allows you to run, it's a virtualization platform, but also a container platform. And OpenShift brings together the capabilities of turning it into an application platform and an AI platform. So for people that are looking at trying to find a new version of what they're doing with their infrastructure to move from their existing VMware or other VM solution and modernize to move into a container-based platform, OpenShift is by far the best in the market that's out there. And we have other webinars, and we can do a private session with you where we go into a lot of details around why OpenShift comes to the table with the best platform in the Kubernetes market that's out there. But if we take a look at also what Red Hat has done to be able to make OpenShift consumable for those that want to use it as a virtualization platform, and then over time modernize and move into a container platform. They have broken their platform into several different subscription types. So there is a subscription type that is the virtualization engine, which is focused on just the workloads that you want to run in VMs. And then OpenShift also has a subscription type that is the OpenShift Kubernetes engine. You also have the OpenShift Container Platform and OpenShift Platform Plus that all have different pieces to it depending upon the types of workloads and what you're trying to do with those workloads. This is an area where when we are working through an assessment with you, we can take a look at what those workloads are that you're looking at doing and figure out how to maximize your ROI by making sure that you have the right subscription to fit for what your needs are. And one last thing on the OpenShift as one unified hybrid platform is when you really take a look at modernizing, the key question you should really be asking yourself is, are you trying to just rehost VMs or modernize your operating model? Because when it really comes down to it, OpenShift is the key platform on the market that gives you that capability to do this at your own speed. So moving out of your existing VM environment and moving into OpenShift virtualization can be done very much with a lift and shift, where we can pull that stuff over and bring it in as a VM, but also at the same time taking a look at those workloads that you have and how do you move them into a container environment in a way that's going to allow you to get all the efficiencies and modernization of running containers, which in most cases people are using 40 to 60% less infrastructure when they move their workloads into containers. So there's a big advantage to being able to move into containers, but also not every workload is going to move into containers. Some workloads are going to stay in VMs, and you want to have that platform that you don't have to have multiple different skill sets working in different platforms and having to hire different managed services or different skill sets to be able to manage it. You want one platform that's going to be able to align this regardless of where you run it, whether you run it in the cloud, whether you run it on-prem, whether you're hybrid. All of this can all be done with OpenShift virtualization and OpenShift Container Platform as your primary solution. Also, many people right now are concerned about with the Broadcom licensing changes that they've done with VMware. And Red Hat has a very predictable licensing model, and you have no proprietary lock-in by going with a Kubernetes-based platform. So the ideal profile is if you already have plans to adopt Kubernetes or OpenShift, this is a great option for you. You want to consolidate your infrastructure platforms. This is a great option for you. Value modernization path over just lift and shift, where you actually have a need where you go, I want to actually modernize. I don't want to just lift and shift. You're concerned about the VMware pricing trajectory, and you want hybrid cloud consistency, meaning the same platform, whether you're running on-prem, whether you're running in the cloud. You don't have to have different skill sets. You don't have to have different security models. You can run it anywhere in any cloud, whether you're running on private cloud, you're running in public cloud, you're running in your own data center. So we'll walk into talking a bit about our migration methodology and how we help customers go through this uncertainty to try to figure out, how do I get from where I'm at now to get to the solution that I'm looking for, which would be OpenShift Virtualization being my primary platform. So we have what we call a proof of value assessment. And our approach on this is we first do a discovery session. And then we actually have a standard model around what our assessment looks like. It's a 1 to 2 week assessment where we go in and we actually build a OpenShift platform for you. We actually migrate some workloads over. We show you how the migration works on that. We actually analyze your workloads to be able to give you a roadmap on what it would take to be able to get your workloads over into OpenShift Virtualization. What workloads should stay where they're at? What workloads should migrate as a VM? What workloads have the capability of easily moving over as a container? Do you have to refactor your applications? You know, which ones are identified as ones that may need refactoring? How do you deal with networking? How do you deal with storage, security, those type of things that would all integrate into your solution? Usually the outcome of this is then you have an executive presentation where we walk through all of our findings. Like here's an example of one, most recent one we did. It's about a 25-page document that goes through the details of this, and it lays out what your production build in your migration path looks like. Anywhere small environments, maybe 6 weeks up to half a year, depending upon the size of the environment. Much bigger environments may take a little bit longer than that as well. But we do have a standardized factory process to be able to move workloads over as well. And then we also have PodOps for OpenShift, our managed service, that many will use the managed service to either have us provide that service for you that covers operating that platform with experts 24/7, 365 globally. And this is usually a 1 to 5 year contract, whether we do this with you or whether we're doing this in a way to be able to train your staff so that you guys understand and then do a handoff down the road. But this key piece right here allows you to get your critical workloads running immediately and then have the safety net regardless of where you're running, whether it's in the cloud or you're running on-prem. We are actually able to maintain those workloads for you as a managed service. So environment setup, integration configuration, VM migration and testing, documentation and readout is what the scope of work is. And the deliverables is a functional OpenShift environment, successful VM migration, integration results, so you understand what that comprehensive documentation is, and proof of value summary report. The idea here is to provide you in a very quick period of time to understand what it would take for you to be able to take your unique situation and provide a roadmap on how you would solve for getting over to OpenShift Virtualization. One of the key tools that we use is a Red Hat tool called the Migration Toolkit for virtualization. So we find about 80% of workloads could actually use this toolkit. We do also, other things that aren't going to be able to be done through the Migration Toolkit, we will take care of manually or with other accelerators that we have built as well. So our team comes in and understands how to take the lion's share of this and simplify your migration. And then your post-project transition, formal proof of value report, OpenShift subscription proposal presentation, so you understand the sizing, you understand how much your subscriptions would cost, you understand also which subscriptions that you would need to be compliant and work with the right subscriptions for what your workloads are. Follow-up engagement scoping, so you understand what the consulting work would be that would need to be done, and a complete services SOW. So one of the things that we find most people are interested in trying to understand also before we get to the demo that we'll be starting here shortly is understanding the cost analysis. So when we look at cost analysis, we actually have a tool that we work with that will provide a executive summary to give you a business value. Here's an example of what a executive summary looks like. The title slide over here telling us that, hey, the OVE and customer name would be here if we go in and do this summary for you. May be able to recognize a total benefit of 3.25 million over 3 years with an estimated investment of 1.5 million. Well, how do we get to there? When we take a look at this, there's a lot in the custom business value tool. There's a lot of areas that we can focus on around cost optimization, your risk mitigation, your strategic improvements. And we go in and actually are able to fill in a lot of information around your particular situation, your exact numbers, this number of VMs you have, the size of your organization, number of FTEs, everything that would be a factor in understanding how to come up with what that ROI is going to be by moving to OpenShift Virtualization, how much you're paying for servers. All of these things are factored in for your unique situation, not a generic situation. And then based off of that, it's able to come out and provide you with the non-monetized benefits. So overall downtime saved, overall hours saved based off of benchmarks of other customers that have moved to OpenShift Virtualization and what they have seen, and using those benchmarks against what your numbers are. We're also able to take a look at cost optimization savings over the 3 years. Like in this particular example, they're showing 2.91 million in cost optimization, risk mitigation, also strategic improvement, being able to go in and understand from where you're at to where you will be, how the ROI would play out for your particular situation, and break this down and give you a set of slides to be able to work with your executives so that you guys understand how this solution would solve your problems. Top outcomes, so lays out from a dollar perspective, what are the things that are going to make the biggest differences for you? Like optimize your software licensing compared to what you'd be paying for your your current provider today, as we've seen people that have had big pricing increases there. Lots of people are just looking at this aspect of that when making comparisons, but there's a lot of other factors as you move to a virtualization and container environment that actually provides a modern environment for you. Example of a more recent one that we did with first year subscriptions, pod ops, which is the managed service, consulting services for migration to get your total annual cost, and then the costs ongoing after that, as compared to, in this particular customer, they're paying about 1.2 million annually with VMware. So they're seeing just in the beginning, just on the costs, being able to have a savings in year one, and then being able to show a graph on how that looks over time and what your ROI is, what your payback period is, all of the particular pieces that will help you understand the ROI that you'll be getting by moving to this environment. And then also the why now, the cost of doing nothing in your particular situation with your data. If you do nothing, how much is this costing you per month, each month, as you're trying to analyze many different solutions that are out there. If you're interested in this, there will be an offer at the end as well, but you can go to crossvale.com /contact us, fill out the contact form, request that you want to have an analysis done, and someone from our virtualization department will reach out to you and work with you on working through getting an assessment and cost analysis done for you so you can understand how this would work for you. At this point, I'm going to turn this over to the really most interesting part here, which Mihai is going to take over and start walking through a demo on how OpenShift Virtualization looks and what it does. I'll send out the slides that are going to walk through what he's doing, but first he'll talk about virtualization machine management. He'll talk about storage management, network management. Then we'll talk about templates and instant type management, and then migrating existing virtual machines. So now I will hand this over to, let me stop my sharing. Can you start sharing?
Yes, for sure.
There you go.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Todd. My name is Mihai Kotkaru, and I'm a senior consultant here at Crossvale. And today I'll do a walkthrough OpenShift and OpenShift Virtualization. First of all, I shared my screen, and here is how OpenShift looks like, OpenShift console looks like. And it's pretty much different from how vSphere looks like, right? So here I have a vSphere, and it's presenting pretty much the ESX servers, the virtual machines, storage, and networking. But OpenShift is a step ahead, and it's more a hybrid cloud. And this is why it's different. And it can run pods or containers along with virtual machines. Today, we'll focus only on the virtualization part of OpenShift. And for this, I'll move to the virtualization stanza. And here is how OpenShift Virtualization Console looks like. And this will help you to manage and go through day-by-day applications every day. So first of all, let's talk how we will manage the virtual machine. This is the console for managing a virtual machine. As you see here, I have 4 virtual machine. One of them is running. And let's talk about this virtual machine on how day-by-day administrator can do its job, right? First of all, we see that here we have a RHEL 10 virtual machine running right now. And for the controls, I can stop the virtual machine, I can restart the virtual machine, and I can pause the virtual machine. And I have any other, and also many actions I can do here. Let's talk a little bit about the console. I can see here in the overview, I have details of the virtual machine and a little console, and also how many resources this machine utilizes, where this machine is hosted, and I have the node in OpenShift. And also, I have the network information about this virtual machine and the storage, right? How the disk is, where the disk is hosted on this virtual machine. Everything is fine. The machine is up and running. Right now, let's see how can I configure a virtual machine. First of all, here I can see the details, right? And I have a number of CPUs and the memory, the instance type. I can see the boot management, the devices it can boot. Going forward, I can see the storage of the virtual machine. So this virtual machine has a 30 GB disk and is hosted on the storage class. We'll talk on the next section about the storage classes and what are they. Also, I can add an empty disk, an ephemeral disk, a volume, or I can clone another volume and add it to this virtual machine. And also I can add a CD-ROM, right, to install drivers or any other kind of software. The same happened with the network too. I have only attached one NIC interface for this virtual machine, but I can attach more network interfaces to this virtual machine, right? And actually, for example, if I would like to, if I have a NAS device on a closed network, right? I cannot access only through a specific NIC interface. I can add that NIC interface and connect to the NAS device, and my operating system can see the files on that device. Also, I can schedule the device on specific nodes, and I can apply specific toleration and affinity rules. For example, if I have two web servers, right, I don't them like to run on the same node, right? If the node fails, I will lose both my web servers. So I can apply an affinity rule and host the servers on different nodes. Also, I have this option, the scheduler, and it's pretty much what VMware names DRS. When it's moving based on some rules, it's moving the virtual machine in between nodes. Also, here is how I can connect to that virtual machine using SSH key. My virtual machine is a Linux VM. And also I have any other options, right? When I create a virtual machine, I can use Cloud Init for Linux VM or sysprep for Windows VM and make specific configuration for the virtual machines. Also, managing virtual machine is not only the configuration, it's how the machine runs. And here I can see some metrics for the virtual machine, how the memory, the CPU, who's consuming too much, and so on. Also, I have events for these virtual machines. And into the console, I can connect through here, right? It's not the only method to connect to a virtual machine, but this is pretty much very handy when an administrator would like to see what happens with the virtual machine and why that virtual machine doesn't have access to the network, right? Also, very important here, I can create snapshots of the virtual machine. If I would like to install some maybe unsupported software, right? Instead of breaking my virtual machine, I can take a snapshot of that virtual machine, and taking a snapshot, it's very easy, right? This is how it looks like. You see, it's less than half a second. And I can restore, right? It happened, something wrong happened with my virtual machine. I can restore from this snapshot and come back to the status of the virtual machine. Just keep in mind, these snapshots are not backups, right? And also I can see the diagnostics of the virtual machine. And here, what's important, the machine, it's live migratable, can be moved from one node to another in case I have a node very solicited, or maybe I would like to install some updates to my node, right? And here I have all the diagnostics of my virtual machine. Also, it's very easy to migrate, right? Here in the actions, I also have stop, restart, pause, and I can clone this virtual machine, a very handy feature. If I would like to create more than one virtual machine with the same configuration. And this is additional to templates and instance types, right? I can deploy a new virtual machine from a template, or I can clone an existing virtual machine and just have the same configuration with the source virtual machine. From here, I also can take a snapshot, and also I can migrate the machine. My system is not, it's a lab. So for me, it's just the compute, but keep in mind, there is also an option to do a storage migration of that virtual machine. So here under overview, I'll see that this virtual machine is on node 2, and I can migrate it and move it to another node, right? To automatically select a node, and starting with version 420, I have the option to choose what node the machine to go to, right? And this will just migrate the machine from one node to another. You see here, the running status of the machine was changed to migrating, and the machine is moved to another node, right? In our case, the node 3, and pretty much everything happens. I forgot to do a ping, right? Just to show you that it's pretty much instant and nothing happens. The machine will be up and running during the migration. So this is pretty much how we manage virtual machine in OpenShift Virtualization. It's nothing different. It's very easy. And also keep in mind this, because this virtual machine is defined by a manifest, right? And you can see here the YAML file of this virtual machine. I can keep this YAML file in a GitHub repository or a Git repository, right? And have like a marker all the time for that virtual machine. Maybe later in this presentation, we'll talk about how to manage virtual machines using the Git if we have enough time. Okay, and for now, this is pretty much about administering virtual machines. We talk about how to configure. We talk about the snapshots, the console, and the diagnostic. The next important part for an administrator is the storage, right? And making an analogy with vSphere, when in vSphere we have data stores, right? Here I have a vSAN data store, for example, right? The same thing in OpenShift is named a storage class. And this storage class will be is based on the CSI driver and will be able to provide storage with my virtual machine. The VMTK in VMware, it's translated by a persistent volume claim, right? So if we are going back to the virtual machine and our virtual machine, here we see under configuration that under storage, right, is going to a PVC, right? And this PVC here, it's the relative Git volume, right? Relative Git volume is just 30 GB. The things are not that simple. They are more complicated, right? Because a storage class will produce a persistent volume that will translate in a persistent volume claims for a virtual machine. But pretty much the VMDK for the virtual machine is these persistent volume claims, right? And here we have a lot of options for a PVC. We can expand the PVC. We can create a snapshot of that PVC and clone that PVC and attach it to another virtual machine, or create another virtual machine based on this clone PVC. For the storage classes, this is pretty much depending on the backend storage. You have, for me right now, I have local storage for each node, and they are work. Hold on, just do this. I'm using Portworx to create a storage cluster, and this storage cluster is based on 3 local disks, each disk attached to one of the nodes. So you see here using Portworx is not the only option. For example, OpenShift will allow you to install ODF, OpenShift Data Foundation, which is doing exactly the same thing. It's putting the disk together and it's creating the storage classes. And these storage classes are pretty much the base for deploying storage for the virtual machines. Here I have many type of storage classes, and each of the storage class has different feature, and this will be inherited by the PVC or the hard disk of the virtual machine. Some of them are based on the performance, some of them are based on the replication, and so on. This is why are that many. Some of them are for the databases, right? And are optimized for running databases on them. From here, as I said, using a hard disk of the virtual machine, which is pretty much a persistent volume claim, right? And if you go to this, right? And the persistent volume claim, they stay with the virtual machine in the same namespace or project. Going further, as I mentioned, many things can be done with a persistent volume claim. So I can clone a PVC, right, and create a new one. And after let's create one clone -1, right, on the same storage class. And based on this one, you see, this would be very fast because it's just the cloning. And I can create a new virtual machine based on this specific hard disk. This option is very good with cloning and taking snapshot, because doing a backup for virtual machine would be a very easy operation. OpenShift comes with a backup operator, right? And how you enhance the OpenShift functionality is just using operators. I have installed here an operator, and the name of the operator is OADP. And this OADP operator will allow me to take a backup of the whole namespace. I mean, the whole project. I can back up the whole project, or I can back up specific objects or virtual machine from the same namespace. Okay, let's move back to the virtualization, and let's discuss a little bit about the network management for the virtual machines. The network here is pretty much a virtual network, right? It's not a real network, because I have my 3 nodes. In my case, there are 3 nodes here, right? I have 3 nodes, and they have different NICs, right? One is the management NIC, one NIC is connected to one production network, another NIC is connected to the NAS network. I have another NIC maybe connected to the backup network, right? So in order to manage the networking, let's move back to the administrator. And as I mentioned, there is an operator that will take care of all the networking operation inside the OpenShift cluster, and the name is this one, NM state operator. Installing the NM state operator, I have a specific networking menu here on the OpenShift, and here how the network looks like for the nodes, right? I have 3 nodes. I have the NICs. Maybe let's move it to here, right? And this is another view of the node network state when the network is got 4 Ethernet 4 NICs, right? I have three physical NICs, and another NIC, which is Genesis. I have a Linux bridge for them, and this Linux bridge is pretty much the how I connect to the external world, right? Um, it's vSwitch or dynamic vSwitch into the VMware, right? I have just the vSwitches here, but pretty much in OpenShift, I have node network states, and for the node network states, I have NICs, and from that NICs, I can connect Linux bridges, right? And I have connected the Linux bridges, which goes to one of the external networks for me. And this is how I can connect a virtual machine running on OpenShift to external nodes. Also, in order to configure the nodes, I can create a node network configuration policy. Just keep in mind, this is a policy that can apply to the node. It can apply to specific nodes or all of the nodes. And this is very simple. As I mentioned, everything here in OpenShift is a YAML file so that I can keep a mark of that initial deployment of everything, right, in a GitHub repository. And in case something happened, I can overwrite it very easy, right, because I have the initial state of every object into deploying in OpenShift. So here I have one of the NICs, it's ENS35, and for this I have created the Linux bridge that will be connected to the same network. The next step would be to create a network attachment definition, and this is a step ahead. If you work with the cloud, you know that into the cloud you can connect an object named NIC, assign a static or a dynamic IP address, and that object NIC can be attached to a virtual machine and can be detached to from that machine and attached to another virtual machine, meaning I can keep a static IP address attached to different machines, right? And this is how I can attach a virtual NIC to a machine, right? So I can connect, I can create a network attachment definition, and this will, like this one here into the default, will provide a static dynamic IP address because I have a DHCP server into my my network, or I can attach a static IP address, and this will demonstrate when we go through the migration state. Okay, so going further, it's very easy. I have a NIC created, which is a network attachment definition, and this one can be attached on one of our virtual machine. And this will be a very easy process. Let's say I'm going to this virtual machine, which right now it's got only the default network. So this is into the default network of the pod of the OpenShift. So it doesn't have external. I mean, I cannot access it from the external service, right? But going to the configuration and into the network, I can add a network interface. I can put, let's say, VLAN 22nd, right, 22, and attach it to the default VLAN and save it, right? In order, you see here, I have a pending changes. I have to restart the virtual machine in order to apply the changes. This is not the only method, right? Moving the virtual machine from one node to another, so doing a migration, the virtual machine will have the network interface attached. So going back, here you see we have the second interface under the network. And as soon as the virtual machine is starting, Okay, this is starting here. Here I have the guest login. I will log in with them right now. Okay, and let's see if the new IP address is shown here, right? So you see here, because I have a DHCP network here into the, I already got an IP address. So going to a server in my network, I can do an SSH to that interface. I think this is rel and sorry, 192.168, 22.150, right? And the VM responds right away, right? It's rel 10 git here. So this is how I can attach a virtual machine to the external network and provide it with a real IP address, right? Just keep in mind, the static IP addresses are more relevant in a data center, more static environment. Here for OpenShift, which is kind of a cloud, hybrid cloud environment, the static IP addresses are not relevant anymore, right? Because I can use just the default network and connect to the external network by using other tools, right? Here into the networking, different from, let's say, VMware, I have services, and these services can act as load balancer for the virtual machines and also the routes. And these routes objects can provide me with access into the external world. And I will demonstrate this in one of the other section of this demonstration. Also, keep in mind, based on user input, OpenShift was added with user-defined network. And with user-defined networks, right now, you have the ability to create private networks within your own namespace, or even across multiple namespace that are segregated from other networks. This feature allows the flexibility to connect virtual machines together in a manner that will look like in the VMware. So this would be another feature added to the networking. Okay, going further, let's discuss about the template and instance type management. And these templates and instance type templates is a very known feature of administration day by day, right? When an administrator has the ability to deploy virtual machine based on a template, and this template can be created just before by an administrator and can be configured whatever the administrator wants to do it, right? OpenShift comes with some specific templates, right? And these are pretty much for the standard one. The most important are the one with the source available, and the source available meaning I can deploy very easy a new virtual machine based on this template, right? And it's got an operating system already installed by default by Red Hat. Also, I have the opportunity to create my own virtual machine templates, Linux or Windows, and make them available to different users to deploy their own virtual machines, right? So here, this is just the definition of the virtual machine. It's not exactly the virtual machine because it doesn't have an operating system installed on a hard drive, but pretty much I can create a source. And if we discuss about bootable volumes, you see I have already provided by Red Hat in the OpenShift, in the moment I install the OpenShift, an operating system for Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9 and Linux 10. But I can create my own volume with, let's say, an image of Windows Server 2025 and start deploying Windows servers from that bootable volume. One step further in OpenShift virtualization and the hybrid cloud is the instance types. And if you see here, and if you worked before with the cloud providers, you'll see when you deploy an EC2, let's say in AWS, you have a custom, an instance type, right? CX1, 2x large, right? Which has specific CPUs and specific memory, and it was optimized for a specific type of computing inside the network. Everything is added here into a catalog. And when I would like to deploy a new virtual machine, I'm going here. I have the older method using a template, right? And I can use the already provided templates from Red Hat, or I have a user template. I don't have right now one, but here is where I can choose my own template specifically for my network. I also can keep the disks on a web server inside my network, right? And as soon as I would like to create a new virtual machine, I can use one of these, right? And this is how easy it is to deploy a new virtual machine. Also into the catalog, if you remember, I have instance type, and here is the same symbol. I can choose the operating system, the type of the virtual machine, you see, and here are the instance types where the virtual machine will be optimized for the network, overcommitted, memory intensive, real-time, compute exclusive, of general purpose, right? Let's choose one of the general purpose. And here I can choose a name, how big the hard drive can be, where the disk side will be provided. And also I have the option to customize the virtual machine, and we are going exactly to the same menus we discussed before with the storage, network, scheduling, and so on. So this is how a new virtual machine can be deployed very easy. An administrator or the manager can create virtual machines, templates that can be deployed into the network. Okay, and after that, let's discuss about on how can we migrate the existing virtual machine from one environment to another. As Todd mentioned before, we have an operator named Migration for Virtualization, MTV, right? And this MTV will provide you with all you need to migrate, let's say, from VMware, from the VMware to OpenShift. First of all, we need to create a provider, right? With all the credentials on how to connect to the vCenter. And here I have, I can see everything I have into the virtual machine. One more, I can create network maps and network maps, meaning how I would like to map the existing data stores to, the existing network vSwitches to the existing network, right? So I would like to move all the servers from this specific network in this specific VLAN. And the same, I can do it with the storage, right? Where I would like that all the VMs on the vSAN data store to be, to provide or to get the disk from this storage class. Why I'm telling this you, because everything is a manifest in OpenShift, so I can do a migration automatically, right? I can use Ansible or whatever automation tool I'd like and migrate the virtual machines. The next step in migrating a virtual machine is to create a migration plan. And this migration plan will start moving my VMs from OpenShift, from vSphere to the OpenShift virtualization. I will just show you how a migration plan looks like, right? And these will migrate 3 VMs at the same time, right? So I have here an application running. I have created an application that has got a HA proxy, 2 web servers, and a PostgreSQL database in the background. Pretty much this is just counting the number of visitors. So if I'm going to HA, right, it's just sending a number of visitor of the site, and it's providing me what server is doing, right? It's going back to the web 1, visitor number 21, and 22 is on web 2. This is pretty much what the application is doing. I can do the migration cold and or warm. In order to keep the static IP addresses, I have to do a warm migration. As you see here, I did 2 migrations, right? One warm, one cold, and another warm, right? And pretty much what the warm migration is doing, it's copying all the data from the VMDK to a new PVC, and it's waiting for the operator to confirm what time to shut down the source virtual machine. And I will shut them down manually, right? And to start the virtual machine on the other side.
Hey, Mihai.
Yes.
Can we stop for just 1 second? Because I know we're getting to the top of the hour. I know you got a little bit more to go to like finish that. But for those that are needing to drop at the top of the hour, I just wanted to make sure that they were able to see the offer that was available. If you're interested in OpenShift virtualization proof of value, we have it's a 2-week engagement, 22,000. Your investment is 2. We have with approval, there's qualified funding through the vendor as well as with the MSA with Crossvale. We can get your cost down on that tremendously. And this was the POV that we talked about before. So if you have an interest where you're going, hey, I'm really kind of interested in going towards OpenShift virtualization, I need to understand how my unique situation works. How does this work in my situation? How does this work with my workloads? What's the roadmap moving forward? Go to crossvale.com/contact us, and then just fill out the form there to be able to request someone to get in touch with you about a OpenShift virtualization proof of value. This is an offer for those that showed up for the webinar today. So reach out as soon as possible to say you're interested in that, and then we can work through getting a discovery set up. I'll put it back over to you, Mihai, so you can finish it.
Okay, thank you, Todd. I will reshare my screen. Okay, so this will take pretty much 70 minutes for me. But going back, I already anticipated this one and I created 3 virtual machines. I have here the 3 virtual machines, right? And I'll start them, right? And we'll see that they will provide exactly the same functionality as the virtual machine in vSphere, right? And all of they are running, but pretty much we have to wait for them to boot, right? And until my 3 virtual machine will boot, I will show you. If you remember here, we have an HA proxy, and this HA proxy will go to each. Will use the round robin to go to each web servers, right? But this is not longer required here into the OpenShift, because in OpenShift we have some network services that can be used, right? And under network, if you remember, we have a service, right? And this service, it's pretty much showing you like a web app, right? And based on the label, right, I can add a label, and based on that label, right, can choose one of another of my web servers. And this service is pretty much useful inside the OpenShift cluster, but in order to present it to the external world, I have created a route and named the route web app. And you see here, I have a location for it. If I open this one, we'll just go to my website, right? And this is how it looks like inside uh, the virtual machine are running inside the OpenShift. You see the functionality is exactly the same. Just to wrap up this event, I would like to tell you that deploying the virtual machine is very easy, right? If you see here, I have a GitHub repository with a configuration for a virtual machine, and using GitOps, which is a service provided by OpenShift, and based on Argo CD, I can pretty much just start deploying a virtual machine using that GitHub. So I have created an application pointing to OCP Virt GitOps. I don't need this one. I need this one. So it's on this one, and I can start syncing. Right now, I don't have any virtual machine in that Git, right? I have just relative Git, but syncing this will, based on the GitHub repository, will create for me a new virtual machine with the hard disk, and we'll start the virtual machine. If we go here, we see we have a new virtual machine, run 9 running, and it's booting right now. But everything was based on a GitHub repository. So this is based on the GitOps philosophy, which is very easy to use, and it's available for all the modern networks. So with this, I will wrap up my demo and send it back to Todd. So if you have any question, I'll be happy to answer you to them right now.
Yeah, I didn't see any questions come in the Q&A. So if anybody has any questions to post in the Q&A, that'd be great. Otherwise, you can go to crossvale.com, contact us. If you have any specific questions about your situation, we would be glad to engage with you and help you understand how to solve your particular situation. Sorry to go over by 5 minutes, but a lot of great information here to learn about on OpenShift virtualization. Hopefully this was valuable for you. Crossvale and Red Hat appreciate your attention on this. Thank you very much. You guys have a great day.